The other important part of building this road was compacting the stone. Up to this time, if they put gravel on a road, they just put gravel on a road. They didn't compact it. But on the macadam roads, they did. And of course, they did this with a steamroller, and this is the steamroller we looked at earlier. It had the four wheels actually, but they soon changed to a different design. We purchased from a New York firm a new design. Instead of having the two wheels for paving in the front, they had the one larger roller on the front. And pretty much that's what all the rollers became, just the one roller in the front. Here's a little better picture of one. And I thought you might like to see one of these in action as well. This wasn't a Port Huron engine roller, but it was very similar. I get a kick out of this fellow in the wheelchair buzzing by. When this steamroller was built, no one ever had an idea that somebody in a wheelchair could zoom by with no steam power.
Yep. I wouldn't mind capping it myself, but I really didn't have a place to keep it. And, I know Tom and Frank will take good care of it.
I think your dad would have been very happy with that.
Yeah.
24th Street was the first macadam road in the city of Port Huron, but it was also the first macadam road in the state of Michigan. And how did this come about, where we got the first macadam road? Well, I'm so glad you asked. I'll be happy to tell you. The Port Huron Engine and Thresher Company was instrumental in getting the first International Good Roads Congress in the United States to be held in the city of Port Huron. It was held on July 4, 1900. A convoy of engine and thresher company equipment attracted much attention as it traveled through town out to 24th Street, where a demonstration of the paving process would take place. It was the first step toward paved roads in Port Huron. The popularity of cycling during this era gave impetus to the Good Roads movement. That was the caption that was attached to this photo here. The parade is going south down Huron Avenue. You can see the Pacific Hotel there on the corner of Grand River and Huron, and that's where Woolworths would be located at years later. And further down with that tall building with the crown on top, that was the Union Hotel. Now, unless you think that this was just some machinery going through town, it wasn't. This was a full-blown parade. It was a Michigan festival at its finest. There was something for everybody, and that's the way they wanted to portray it. They wanted everybody to come out, and they did. Look at this article I found in the Good Roads magazine. Among the State Division annual meetings that are attracting attention is that to be held in Michigan at Port Huron. Chief Counsel Earl, a radical Good Roads and Side Pass advocate, has arranged a program that appeals especially to others of his trend of thought, at the same time furnishing plenty of amusement and recreation for those who prefer to let others do the League's work. A Good Roads Congress will be a feature, and a mile of macadam road will be constructed. Among other features will be band concerts, an all-night smoker, a horseless carriage parade, fireworks, an electrical spin wheel, whatever that may be, and races. Mr. Earl declares that the Port Huron gathering will be by far the most successful and beneficial League meeting ever held in the state. I imagine a great number of people that took part in these activities followed these machines out to 24th Street to be able to view this paving process of making a new road on 24th. These Good Road magazines have been tremendously helpful in establishing what the roads, or early roads in Port Huron, how they came about and what they were like, and some great pictures that you'll see in a couple minutes. This photograph here was taken on 24th Street and shows all the people milling around waiting for this road processing to occur. In this photograph, the caption reads, "Building Foundation for Macadam Road at Port Huron, Michigan." And this one says, "An object lesson at Port Huron, the good and bad side by side." And this one says, "Sample Road, Port Huron, Michigan." And it shows a streetcar coming down 24th Street. This sample road extended from the 24th Street tracks that ran alongside the Port Huron Engine and Thresher Company all the way to Griswold Street. That's noted by the red line there. In this article, it says, "So successful was the Good Roads Congress held at Port Huron, Michigan in July that no less than 4 similar conventions have been held since that time at various points throughout the Central West," and it goes on to name them. What I thought was interesting about this article is what's on this next slide. In Titusville, Pennsylvania, it has been the custom to allow wheelmen on the sidewalks of unpaved streets in bad weather, while Port Huron, Michigan, permits sidewalk cycling upon payment of a license fee of $1 and by displaying a light at night. Another little tidbit of history that has been lost along the way. I also found this article here. It says the plan was a success, and before winter sets in, and the Port Huron Engine and Thresher Company will have completed 4¼ miles of substantial roads extending into the other districts of Port Huron Township. There's some other interesting information in here, but I won't take the time to read it. You can read it at your leisure because I want to show you some photographs of these other roads that they're mentioning here. And here we see Griswold Street, and the caption says during construction, although I don't see any construction people. But the thing that amazed me is these roads are only like 9 feet wide, so they weren't very wide. This one here shows Lapeer Avenue and what it used to look like, and this one says that it was completed. Here's another one of Griswold Street, and this one shows the steamroller on it, which is kind of neat. But it is one long, narrow stretch of road. In this photograph, they don't identify the road. Nor do they on this one. It says road for heavy traffic, 18-inch thick, after compacting, entering Port Huron, Michigan, built by the Port Huron Engine and Thresher Company. It does look a little bit like it might be the river road because it looks like the river there in the background. In a later issue of the Good Roads magazine, I found these pictures here. This is Military Street, and you can see, well, you can't really see, but it is a brick street. And I think they're showing here the different types of roads that were in Port Huron. A large building you see on the right is the Harrington Hotel. Later on, they would use tar along with these macadam roads that would seal the road even better. This photograph doesn't identify which street this is. This part of Military Street was identified as sheet asphalt. And here we see a brick pavement, which is Broad Street, which has now been named McMorran. And last but not least, we have this road here, which is a stone road before it was compacted. It doesn't say which road it is, just saying that it was built by the Port Huron Engine and Thresher Company. The person that organized the Good Roads Conference in Port Huron also decided that these were so successful, these sample roads that they were putting around Michigan, and the cities that they were in started to decide, well, we want those roads. Why not expand to different states? And so Earl began organizing the Earl Good Roads Train Company in June of 1901. The train began to roll when financial backing came from many railroads, the Port Huron Engine and Thresher Company, the Acme Road Machinery Company, and individuals who offered free meals and lodging to passengers on the train. On May 5, 1902, the Pierre Marquette Railroad even assured Earl that it would haul the Good Roads train free of charge over company tracks, whenever Earl desired. Earl's Good Roads train operated in Michigan for 4 weeks in 1901 and for 19 weeks in 1902. The Good Roads train increased the impact of the object lesson roads by allowing the free use of the latest equipment, generating publicity over a wide area, providing a forum for meetings and promoting formation of state good roads organizations and adoption of state road laws. These trains, which were popular and effective, were an example of the close relationship between the early good roads movement and the railroads. Because highways were viewed as feeders bringing people and goods to the railroads, officials of the railroad companies saw road improvements as being in their own interest. The Good Roads train would pull into town, and there they would build sample roads varying in length from a half a mile to 1.5 miles. The train consisted of road graders, engines, rock crushers and elevators, wagons and carts, and road rollers, as well as many other miscellaneous items such as scrapers and plows of different styles and sizes. And then also Pullman cars for the operators to be in while they were traveling. Sometime around 1906, Fort Huron Engine and Thresher Company was looking to tap into foreign markets to secure contracts. They had early success at the South American markets, but collecting monies became difficult, if not impossible. Thus, this venture proved not to be as lucrative as first envisioned by the company. Like other traction engine manufacturers, Fort Huron was forced to complement their existing line through the development of a gasoline tractor. The Fort Huron gas tractor materialized in 1915 after nearly 3 years of planning. All components were produced by the company, with the exception of the engine, which was purchased from an outside source. Unfortunately, the basic design of the tractor, particularly the drivetrain, proved to be so poor that hardly any farmers wanted one. When the tractor was under a load, the disc produced excessive slippage and disengaged the drivetrain. High fuel consumption and spark plug fouling compounded the miseries of this seemingly cursed tractor. Very few were built between 1917 and 1921, and none are known to exist in the world today. The following year, the company acknowledged that overall sales had diminished and the attempt to break into the gasoline tractor market had not been realized because of flaws with the tractor. Continued marginal sales forced the company into receivership in 1920. With a skeleton workforce, the company managed to manufacture threshing machines until 1925. They did this with one factory, and that was the one on 24th Street in South Park, where Electric and 24th come together. The company met its unfortunate end in 1928 and liquidated its inventory. Fort Huron Engine and Thresher Company failed because they did not comprehend the market, and they produced inferior machines that garnered unfavorable reputation. After the bicycle phase was over with in the country, they switched to automobiles, and pretty much everything in their magazines had to do with making the roads better for automobiles. Fort Huron Engine and Thresher Company. I think you can tell that I've enjoyed researching this company, making these videos. I originally decided to probably give it about 5 minutes of a video time. I ended up giving it 60 minutes. It seemed like the further I went, the more I found out, and the more I had to tell you. Along the way, I found out some interesting information that could have been historically lost. I found rare photographs of the streets in Fort Huron being paved for the first time. I was like a kid in a candy store when I saw those. But it makes me sad that the company had to come to an end. But I've been happy to share this story with you, and I hope when you hear the name Fort Huron Engine and Thresher Company that you'll realize at one time it was quite the company.